Welcome to the People of Portland and Beyond, episode 49. Today in studio with me is AmbeRed from AmbeRed Photography, or AmbeRed Photo PDX is the handle on Instagram. And how long have you been doing photography?
Too long. 15 years.
Really?
15 plus years. Yeah.
It's one of your favorite things to do, I'd assume?
Yeah, at this point it's built in.
Yeah.
Not machine, so not programmed, but definitely feel like it sometimes. It's been a lifelong journey at this point.
And where did you learn photography?
Well, I started off in the depths of photo studios like JCPenney's and Sears, and taking pictures of little kids at like Life Touch, you know, like school photos and things like that. But really it's just about picking up the camera and doing it yourself, because you can have people teach you all day long, but until you put your hands on it, until you look into the lens, it's completely different.
So is it more important to get traditional instruction, or is it more important to just do it from your own experience?
I think it's good to get both. I think it's always good to stay open-minded to new prospects, new people's ideas. Yeah. And if there's somebody willing to teach you, take it, take it and run with it, because what they teach you could be valuable somewhere else down the line. I've found that mentors actually taught me some of the best stuff outside of school, because I did go to school for a while for photography, and just the personal advice from those teachers and from my peers was better, Technically, there's a lot to be said about schooling. There's a lot to be learned about the techniques and the actual physical, technical aspects of your camera and lighting equipment. But if you're somebody who picks up on that fast, we have YouTube these days. Back when I started doing this, that wasn't even an option. It was all 35 millimeter cameras, and the digital age had just started. So this is a new monster for a lot of people that have been doing it for a while. When you have camera phones that are just as good as full frame cameras, you start really questioning what you're doing and your ability to do it, and do I need to change things? Do I have to keep up with the times, so to speak?
As far as the camera phone thing now, how far off are they from being like completely synonymous, like the same, just as good a quality? Or what's the difference right now? Like, why can't they be as good as a full frame camera?
The difference between the full frame camera and the camera phones, the only thing that I can see at this point is, unless you're somebody who is just super technical and can set up studio lighting alongside your camera, your camera phone, it's one of the things I don't think that you can do as well. Like I've seen people on Instagram who have thousands of followers and have beautiful photos that are all taken on their camera phone, but a majority of those are landscape, flowers, just really pretty scenery and thing like that. When it comes to people and portraiture, that's a different monster. So there's things that can be done to make it amazing with your camera phone, but I still think the full frame has a little bit on them.
Yeah. And what about video-wise? Are they catching up that way too?
I think they are catching up that way, and I think it's a matter of time before we're all kind of integrated into one bigger product, and I think that's what scares a lot of these companies. We've had major brands like Canon and Nikon for a long, long time, Sigma, and now we have the iPhone and Samsung. We have all these different companies that essentially are just going to kind of eat each other up. And we are going to be looking at, hopefully, I say hopefully because I am actually looking forward to new products. I am looking forward to something that more people can afford, and maybe not mass consumed, but just that more people have the option to not feel so stupid when they pick something up. Like when I first picked up my camera, I felt really dumb. I felt like it's going to take me forever to learn how to use all the functions on this thing. I'm going to be sitting here for days with my manual. But now, like I said, we have things like YouTube where you can click a button and there's your manual in like an hour. So.
Yeah, if you have the patience to sit down and listen.
Yeah. And to each their own. Some individuals learn better when they read. Some individuals learn better when they hear things or, have hands-on experience. So just to each individual's own.
Same thing with books on tape.
Yeah.
Some people enjoy Audible. I can't listen to books on tape.
Yeah, me either.
I will get distracted.
I fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, there goes the story. Oh, yeah.
It's like a TV show that with too much action when I'm doing like cleaning or cooking. Like I'm not going to absorb that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what book on tape could ever get me to like
really
absorb it.
Yes, it's still enlisted.
It's just the way they read it, monotone or something.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when you have the capability to read your own things, you can set it down whenever you want to. It's your mind playing things out. So the voices are different in your own head.
Yeah.
The thought process of where the characters are at, or it's different.
Even how you read could be different than how another human reads. I found it interesting when I talked to my brother when I was a teenager about how he reads books. He told me he doesn't picture anything at all. And I'm like,
weird.
What? I'm like, I picture the whole time I'm reading a book, I'm seeing pictures, I'm imagining a character the way that I imagine them.
Yeah.
In my head, I associated this character with somebody in my life. For whatever reason, I would have that guy, a character, as somebody I knew in my life. My brother didn't get that.
And there's a different creative process for each person. I think artists tend to lean more towards that thought process. I remember when I was younger, I used to be into role-playing, like D&D books and things like that because of that. Because essentially, outside of the storytelling in those games, there was this creative process, and you could draw your characters and draw the things that you essentially were thinking and make it come to life. And to me, that was so fun. It took up tons of time and something I can't do these days. Right. But I encourage kids, like, put down the phone and the screen and maybe pick up something like that is it forces you to be more creative with your own skills and your own brain rather than just absorbing what somebody else is giving you.
I agree. You can get started by getting a library membership.
Library card, yeah.
I used to go, and what got me to keep reading was the book was due and I had to return it. Yep. So I was like, okay. And now that I'm back at the library, I might as well pick up another book.
Yep.
I have to get back into that cycle.
I do that for my 5-year-old, actually. Take her to the library, get library books, bring them back. And we used to do like a small stack, and the stack has kind of increased. Uh-huh. So now the stack is a little bit bigger. We work our way through it and then bring it back. But it keeps the variety going, too. That way you're not reading the same books over and over and over, especially as a parent, because it gets real monotonous.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Is there anything that you watched that you would never watch right now?
Watched?
Yeah.
As far as like TV or...
Yeah, TV.
Oh, geez. That I would never watch today.
And, for your kid, you're watching it.
Oh, geez. Probably everything I watched as an adolescent. When I was a teen, I was very angry and angsty and very dark. So everything I listened to and paid attention to was very dark. I think my oldest is going through this phase where she's paying attention to serial killers and the psychology behind them and things like that. It's for a project. But I remember thinking, oh my God, I did that when I was a kid too. I was like, I used to try and psychoanalyze people, and serial killers were interesting to me because they were dark. And I got into the horror genre and really got into like that whole why are people into this kind of type thing.
Well, it's all over Netflix right now.
Yep.
Like, there's the whole Ted Bundy thing on Netflix. It's like, if you watch the Ted Bundy movie, then you'll get led into the documentary series, and then you'll get led into a whole other series.
They'll just throw you on a whole algorithm of serial killers.
By the time you get to like the third one, you're like, I can't do this anymore. Like, that's what happened to me. I'm sick of serial killers right now.
I'm actually doing a photo set this coming week that pertains to the Zodiac killer. Okay. Because he was the only killer that I ever found terribly interesting, because there was so much unsolved stuff about his case. Uh-huh. And there was so much quizzical stuff to it, more puzzles, things like that.
Yeah.
Still a deranged individual, but the idea behind my photo shoot is to kind of capture one of his killings, like the idea of it, and then I'm going to have somebody who actually shoots 35 millimeter camera, another photographer there, shooting like crime scene photos.
Nice.
So he'll get like that old school 35 millimeter black and white, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, cool. I mean, certainly you have the atmosphere of Oregon had a lot of serial killers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A lot of them. When you watch the Ted Bundy's documentaries, like they keep mentioning Oregon.
That's because we're secluded and we have these places people like to hide.
It's
Actually,
true.
the Green River Killer. I met his brother one time in Seattle when I was working at a bar.
Really?
And he had changed his last name because he didn't want people to know that he was the brother of the Green River Killer.
Yeah, they do that all the time.
Yeah.
There was where I grew up in New York, Long Island. Apparently, the Hitlers are there.
Huh.
They all changed their names, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
Who wants to be known by Hitler?
Yeah,
or
that's not a good last
Mussolini,
name.
or anybody that was a dictator. Or
Yep.
You're screwed at that point.
Yep.
And I feel bad for the people with that family name. It's just
Yeah, because passed down through generations, you know that families do change, you know, especially after centuries.
Seriously.
Some.
And it's not even fair to the German people. It's like everybody kind of like, oh, you guys did that. It's in your genes.
You're permanently scrutinized. Yeah.
I know.
Mhm.
It sucks. But yeah, I mean.
We got a long way to go.
And then they did this Volkswagen. They did this Volkswagen thing.
Oh God! Yeah.
After they redeemed themselves.
And they started making these things.
And I loved the Volkswagen. That was like one of my favorite cars growing up. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
That sucks. German does it again. But they have a sweet thing over there where you could speed as fast as you want, and you could be naked. So they have that going for them.
Those are a couple good things.
It's weird how that
Nakedness
liberal
and speed.
The liberalness that broke out of the whole Nazi thing. It's like, how? Why?
Okay, we're gonna be super conservative. Now we're super liberal.
Yeah, I think they just went the other way. They're like, okay, that was stupid.
We're done. Yeah.
Like, honestly, we've changed. This is how we've changed.
I think a lot of people, when they get outside their conservative box, they kind of see that. But I think that's built in. Like, the town that I came from is very conservative, still very conservative.
Yeah.
But they are literally out in the middle of nowhere. And I think a lot of people don't stop to think about how little interaction they get with the outside world. You know, a lot of people do not travel, don't go very far. You know, they stay in their homes. They, especially now, because technology is the way it is, people have everything at their fingertips.
Yeah.
And they don't have to go places. So you get a lot of introverted people, a lot of
Sheltered.
Yeah, sheltered, antisocial, maybe not very educated, because then a lot of times I came from a small town, and curriculum is way different. I mean, we'd like to think that, you know, everybody gets great, you know, textbooks, everybody gets this, that, and the other when you go to these schools, but that is not the case.
Yeah.
And you see the variance as you go from school to school, and how much money each one of those schools gets too. You know, that really has a big pull on what goes on.
Yeah, I had assumed at this point that all schools had top-end computers, cameras, but I guess depending on the area.
Yeah, depending on the area, especially the further out you get, the less income there is to put into those schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schools are not federally funded.
Nope.
So.
Yeah, we got some school issues.
It's a
We've known
shame.
that for a long time. It's just a matter of like starting implementation. And I think that's where we're at, is a lot of people are just trying to start making the changes that should have been made a long time ago. You know, it's more about getting out there and doing it rather than just saying. You know, it's the same way with my work. When I'm doing photography, I can talk about what I want to do all day long, but until I'm actually there doing it, it means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to actually get out there and do it. And that's what I've been doing this year. A lot more just getting out and doing things.
Yeah, I saw that you did a shoot in Houston.
Actually, the model is from Houston. She came here.
Oh, she came here.
Yeah.
Renee Nicole Keys. And
Yeah.
how was it working with her?
So she is a longtime friend. She used to be a Portland native, and she moved out to Texas. Started taking classes out there. She works out there, but she comes up here because she's got friends.
Yeah.
And she knows that I'm a big water rights person. I've been involved with quite a few groups, mostly in donations and voice.
Yeah.
I'm not a big on the front lines picketer kind of type person, but I probably will be more once my kids are bigger.
Yeah.
I think she wanted to really help me relay the importance of us taking care of our waterways, especially throughout the Columbia River Gorge. I go through there almost every weekend. I drive through there all the time. I hike through there. Somebody told me the other day, the gorge is like Portland's church. That is very true.
Yeah.
I think people use it as a way to escape the city and, just the hum of everything. And people are really... That sucks. It sucks to see that. Because we have this beauty around us all over the place. And to see garbage kind of sucks.
Definitely.
That, and not long ago, Nestle made a crack at the gorge. They tried to... They wanted to get at some springs over there in the Cascade Locks and put in a bottling plant, and they were shut down pretty quick.
Yeah,
so it's kind of another thumb my nose at Nestle because I'm not a big fan.
It's the worst water you'll ever drink.
Yeah, and they own so many bottled watering extras. A lot of people are like, you just see the Nestle and you think, oh, that's it. Well, they own Arrowhead. They own they own almost all.
I was wondering why the Arrowhead didn't taste as good.
Yeah. No, they own almost all those bottled waters. There's very few that they don't own actually. And Nestle is a big processed products. They do a lot of frozen foods, a lot of candy.
Doesn't taste good to me.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that is processed. I'm not a big fan of the company, mostly because they don't take care of their people, and they do not take care of the land where they put their businesses, and they don't pay taxes.
Sounds like Disney to me.
Yeah, very close. Very close.
And
big
then
corporations.
they'll backpedal when people are outraged by the James Gunn incident, but
Disney's had the capability to pay people off over the years too, though. People, whenever there's been something that's come up, they've done a real good job of hush hush under the rug. Here, have the money, go away.
Yeah, I think with James Gunn, they were like, hush hush until we get this merger done, and then we're gonna get him back, which was like so obvious that's what they were doing, but they didn't care. They were just doing what their press release agent, whatever, told them to do.
Whatever looked good for the moment.
Exactly. Whatever spin looks good. Everyone saw right through it. They don't understand that social media is not letting this happen anymore.
That is, and when I tell people there is a lot of good that comes with social media and a lot of bad, we see the bad because people are really quick to judge. They jump on things really fast and maybe initiate things before they should. But at the same time, we also have this ability to relay information to each other that's really, really important that maybe we wouldn't get before. Especially from like other countries, where things are going down, where we should know their governments are doing things that our governments are doing, and we can kind of compare and contrast. Those things are really super important. And just being able to have the quick capacity to connect with each other,
Something North Korea doesn't have.
At all. I think the smartest thing I ever heard anybody say was, we should just drop a bunch of cell phones in North Korea so that the masses get an idea of what's going on in the outside world.
I wonder how the population would react to that. They'd be too scared to even touch them.
They probably would be frightened to touch them because they'd be afraid their dictators would kill them.
Yeah, they'd be like messages throughout the street. If you touch the phone, you will be killed immediately.
Yeah. But this is just another instance of a regime, a dictatorship, having their thumb on the pulse. I mean, we see it across the globe on all different levels, and it is basically putting the fear of God into your peoples and being like, if you step out of line, then we'll make sure that.
I just watched it on this World War II specials all last week. I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, it's history repeating itself, and we have been doing it for centuries. And the fact that we keep doing it is really...
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, are we not learning from our mistakes?
I thought after Vietnam, it was like, okay, people really aren't getting drafted, but they're still figuring out ways to screw
Oh, yes. Up. Oh, yes. I mean, for years and years now, we've had veterans. That's the main thing that really bums me out is people are so about doing things for their country and their family, more or less. It's about taking care of your family and whatever you have going for you here, or maybe making something of yourself when you go out there.
Right.
But to the point, like, these are people that are risking their lives for everybody else in this country, and then our government treats them like crap when they come back home. I mean, I've seen very few people treated right by the VA, and I've seen more veterans die here on U.S. soil than overseas during war. You know, so that's a sad thing that we should be working on.
And there's friendly fire too.
Yeah.
No one don't like to talk about that, but I saw so much of that in those like World War II things.
Well, we got more of that now because of technology too, because technology can be flawed, and even the human use of that technology can be flawed. So we can
the drone hits
offer counter strikes and then hit the wrong thing or hit our own people.
Yeah,
so.
And when someone does that, they get like a slap on the wrist, or like, and like a cop, military. If one of them commits a crime, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like maybe we shouldn't take it as lightly.
There's a lot more time and effort put into covering people's butts that are higher up.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe it's like a lot of people take these jobs. They're like, oh, well, if something happens, they'll just get like dismissed or something. The worst, I don't know. And then not even then. A lot of the times they're just like, you're suspended for this many times, and you can come back no matter what you did.
Yeah, that is not okay in my book.
Yeah, I agree. So looking at some more photos, I noticed you do that white background now. Is there a technique to get that?
So white backgrounds, the best white backgrounds that I have are on that seamless white paper. And I know some photographers personally that have some really beautiful, like built-in white. That has the nice, oh crap, can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like it's a ramp that's actually built into the wall. So it's like a permanent piece pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't have anything like that. I just got a small space, so I use the seamless paper. It works really well. And then just a matter of where you place those lights, you know.
Yeah.
And where you place the lights and your subject. You got to be far enough from your backdrop to not create the deep shadows unless you want them.
Yeah.
Because some people like the deep shadows, and I appreciate them too. Everybody's got their own technique.
That's true. Is there like a certain style that you go for in your photographs?
I think I got really pissed off when I was in college. I went to the Portland Art Institute here.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first things my photography teacher told me was that you needed to find the type of photography that you wanted to do and stick with it, because that was what was going to make you money if you wanted to make money as a photographer.
Yeah.
And I always felt like, okay, you just put me in a box, because I have to be in a box to make money. I have to be a wedding photographer or a dog photographer or a school photographer. And all of that was nice. And yeah, it will make you money, but it was really boring.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always been about color, shapes, and strange things. I've always wanted to showcase people that were different and the different styles and shapes of people, you know. I've never been I don't know, I'm really open to everything pretty much, as long as it's not porn, you know. I'm like, I'm gonna steer clear of that one, because I got other people I know that are totally into it. That's their business, not mine.
Has there been situations where you've been approached and you had to turn them down?
Oh yeah, multiple times, definitely.
Where does that happen? Like the Kit Kat show club or something?
No, actually, that's the least.
People are on their best behavior there.
People are usually really nice to me there. All the girls there know me though, and it's more or less, I've worked with so many of them at this point that I've developed a reputation. So I've never really had problems like that there. And usually it's not a problem when people approach me about it. It's just a question.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, can I do this? You know, would this be plausible? You know, up to a certain point, I'm okay with things, you know, like just no penetration. You know, you can be naked, but I really don't want to see the holiest of holes. You know, I'm like, cool with that.
Yeah.
So in my photography, if I'm going to do something like that for somebody, usually it's not something I'm going to post all over the place either.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's for them and they want to pay me for the gig, awesome. But not so much something that I'm going to plaster all over my website or my Instagram, obviously.
It's not marketable.
Yeah, not for me anyways.
Yeah. I saw you work with Miss Una Solitaire.
Oh, I love her. Love her. So she's been modeling for a long time now, and I kind of started doing work with her when she was a baby model. I don't want to say a baby model, but she has like grown leaps and bounds. Like she is an amazing model.
Nice.
She's not just a model either. She's a entertainer. She's a amazing theater actress. You know, she's done a lot of stuff here in Portland, and
Very cool.
she's definitely one of my faves as far as people to work with.
Yeah, so you also work with BJ McNaughty, right?
I don't work with her so much, but I do know her. Yeah,
Okay.
she also works at the Kit Kat Club. She's made a really good name for herself. I mean, she travels around a lot. She gets her name out there and her face, and
Yeah, she's got a good brand. I don't know what you'd call it. I don't like to say that word, but
I think I like her because she's kind of no bullshit. You know, she's kind
Yeah.
of just tell it how it is, and I don't give a fuck what you think.
She's very down to earth. Yeah,
But I tend to like people like that. I tend to like,
me too.
you know, really blunt people.
Honest people.
Don't beat around the bush with me. Just tell me how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Why
Yeah.
hide anything?
Yeah.
It's very real. Person.
That's also why I don't get along with people that I meet like off of like social media that have been pretending to be something that they're not, and then when I meet them, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. That happens. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people like that. I'm a pretty open person though. I'm always a handshake away from just being like, "Hello, how are you? Give me a hug."
Yeah.
You know, so
You should live like more. It's easy to be closed-minded in life.
yeah.
People are gonna screw you over and be
yeah,
guarded, you know. But it's got to be open.
I spent a lot of time like that in my younger years and just really putting up walls. And even just recently, being able to get out more and see more artists and do more with people has definitely been an eye-opener for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I did a series this year called the Touch Series, and that's basically what that whole series is about, is relaying the importance of physical touch in our connection. Interact with each other on
Yeah.
all levels, not just sexual levels, you know, physically, sexually, but physically, emotionally, you know, just holding each other, hugging your friend, telling your kids you love them when they go to bed at night. Things like this, you know, things that you would think are just a given,
Yeah.
people are really lacking these
I
days.
think there's a stigma attached to touch. It's like there shouldn't be. And we're kind of crossing the line with sexuality and touch. And no, I mean, that's why cuddle parties, I guess cuddle things
Yeah.
started coming out. And
Yeah.
people are starting to realize, no, you could touch someone and it's not sexual.
Yeah.
America's a little prude, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's so sad to see that because it really does affect somebody not to be touched.
It does.
Somebody who has gone years and years without being physically touched, to touch them when they actually get to that point, they almost like cringe. You know, they're like, oh my God, somebody wants to touch me. Oh my God. You know, and that is like, to feel that way or see that happen is
I
like,
feel sorry for people when they're like, don't touch the people that can't be touched.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What? Don't you want that?
yeah, that's a different stigma too. That's something that
Yeah.
you got to get over in your mind. You know, and I've been a big mind over matter type person. I lost a lot of weight over this last 6 months, and really it has been about mind over matter, because
Yeah.
it is just about waking up in the morning and going, okay, I need 30 minutes of exercise today. Next day, okay, I need 30 minutes of exercise today. And no matter what, making sure you have the time to do that. And that is just really devoting yourself to it, thinking about it when you go to sleep at night, when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, what you think about when you first wake up is very important, I think.
It
It's
is.
going to define the tone of your day.
It does.
Whatever you listen to, or I think
That's why I like to wake up to music. Smells, things like
Yeah.
that. Like I like the smell of coffee and my
music
incense in the morning.
is a good androgynous thing to wake up to, because I've woken up to podcasts before. The other day I woke up to one and I was like, I'll be fine. And they're like, just a warning, this could trigger you. And I was like, I was like laughing. Like, I was like, yeah, right, I'm going to get triggered. And then like a half hour later, I was like, I should not have listened to this podcast.
I shouldn't have listened to
They
it.
were right. Totally triggered me.
I had to stop putting politics in my feed on Facebook, because I used to do that really like a lot. I used to always,
Yeah.
especially when Trump became president, I had everything to say about everything. And then I just realized, I was like, I'm just putting out all this negativity. I'm just putting all this this energy that's really angry and angst. Instead of doing that, I started looking for solutions to the problems.
Yeah.
You know, okay, instead of being angry about this, what am I going to do to fix it? What am I going to do to offer a solution? Or what am I going to do to be more uplifting about a situation that's obviously really bad?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of that. And social media has made people more aware of it. I've noticed it's been going on for years. I've seen it, you know, inequality, the differences between race, religion, money, you know, things like that. All this kind of stuff has been happening for forever. It's just more in our face now. You know, it's more like, okay, now you can't deny it because 50 other million people are saying this has happened to me, you know?
Yeah.
So,
you can't, it's in everything, every bit of history. I was just researching some religious stuff the other day just because I started watching this ridiculous TV show called Lucifer. It's
I've been watching that too.
the dumbest Fox show, but I can't stop it. It's basically like Monk, except I've never seen Monk. But
yeah, and I'm not really big into the whole idea of like heaven and hell kind of type thing, but
yeah,
it's,
me neither.
It's pretty entertaining.
The crime drama thing I'm normally not into, but for some reason the devil as an assistant to a cop works perfectly. Like I can't explain it.
I know. It does work very well, actually.
And Lucifer, they're bringing out like the angel names. I'm like, wow, this is actually fascinating. Like I didn't know Lucifer had a brother, Amenadiel. I don't even think that's real. Like I was like seeing if the history is true.
Yeah, it's good to check on your history.
And then there's Lilith, which I was fascinated by.
Me too.
I
was fascinated that they brought that up, as a matter of fact.
I was like, who the hell is Lilith? That sounds familiar.
I've done my research there.
And then so tell me about it. Tell the audience about her.
So Lilith was originally supposed to be the first woman ever created. And when you see pictures of Lilith in religious depictions, she doesn't really look like a human. She looks part human. She looks part serpent. In some places she has like bird feet, you know, snake. Some she has snake hair. And there's been all sorts of different depictions of her over the ages in different religious texts. But the idea is that she essentially became a vampire. There's some religions that think she was a vampire and that she essentially like stole babies and ate babies and all sorts of crazy things. But she was before Eve, essentially. She was supposed to be the first woman.
Yeah.
Now you brought up a question to me and said something about time travel. Like, what would you do if you could travel back in time?
Yeah.
What would you change? And I thought about that for a long time. And the one thing that came to mind was if I could travel back to about 1400 BC.
Yeah.
When religions were being created, when the idea first came into man's mind about making up some kind of religion, that women always be involved. They always somehow be a part of the process of whatever is being created, and that religion cannot just be dictated by man. So that woman would always have a say. Because in most religions across the board, women don't have say. They are actually looked at as below men. So in my thought process, if that had been retracted from the beginning of time and women were always involved in the thought process, men and women were equal, like they're supposed to be, kind of like a yin and a yang type thing. You know, we need each other. We need to work with each other rather than against each other. And I felt like that's what religion did. Religion made us work against each other, and it's made us wage wars for centuries. So I think if I could go back in time and change anything without there being like a really serious butterfly effect, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I thought about, you know, taking out dictators and things like that. But, you know, essentially the death of those dictators, something happened because of it. You know, like when Martin Luther King died, it was a horrible thing. But because of him dying, look at what else happened. You know, so if you try and take back things like that,
if you don't get Bush elected, then does Obama get elected?
Yeah, you know. Yeah. There's a lot to consider when there's time travel involved.
Yeah, I read 11/22/63, so like, you can't stop. You can stop the JFK assassination, but something else will happen.
Yeah, and I mean that's even in effect. If I was to try and do something like that, where you change the ideas of man from the beginning of time. There's still a chance that something else could happen, and somebody else, King James, could come in and write down the Bible and be like, guess what I think?
Yeah.
You know? So one man, that's what always blows my mind, is one man made these images and these thought processes a thing, and now billions of people follow suit. You know, it's just kind of, it's always blown my mind since I was a kid.
The only thing I could think of is that was it was started like aggressively, like forcing people violently to believe it. And
It was.
And it just like followed suit because it was like
They had to.
built in their subconscious.
Yeah, it was do it or die.
I mean, that's what
they
God
were burning
is.
witches back then.
That's basically the whole concept of religion and God. It's like
And
obey
witches,
or
yeah.
die. And as a kid, you're like, okay, I obey my parents. I can understand that concept. And even in the early, Middle Ages, olden times, we could believe that.
Yep.
We're slave to the kings and queens.
Yep.
So why wouldn't we believe that?
Yep.
I don't think we can believe that now.
I was telling my daughter, I think if we had more people that were willing to start teaching kids at a younger age to use more of their brain power, because we have this capacity to use more of our brain that we don't, and we know it.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are in the upper echelons of society that have had the schooling, that have had the money to go through and take the classes and have been to universities and things like this where they've actually taken the time to study and know that the human brain is amazing and we have this capability to do so much more with it. If we were teaching kids from a young age to be much more intelligent, then we're just not trying from the ground up.
Yeah.
We almost make it so that there is this hierarchy. We have people that have more money, you're going to be smarter. People that don't have more money, you're not going to be as smart. So the guys that are on top are going to kind of keep their foot on the guys on the bottom. And that's a way of living that nobody should have to worry about. Nobody should have to feel like they're being stepped on by somebody else because of money or knowledge.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge is power thing really does reign supreme.
Yeah, I agree.
Except for in the case of our president, current president.
Yeah.
He's got cronies to keep him informed,
Yeah, I agree with that. So where do you find most of the models from that you get?
So I have a whole slew of people that I work with, and a lot of them work in the entertainment industry. So
Yeah.
I do work with a lot of people that are entertainers that travel. I got a lot of burlesque performers, a lot of strippers. I got a lot of, don't shoot as many musicians as I used to. When I was in Seattle, I shot a lot more musicians. Here, not quite as many. A lot of people that just do modeling for a living. And recently I've been working with a group. It's like an artist collective called the Renaissance Plunks. And they do, they like go and they find a venue and then they shoot inside the venue, and it's multiple models and multiple photographers involved. Everybody just kind of has fun and learns from each other. It's like a collective of people kind of feeding off each other's ideas and art and kind of feeding the creative juices all together. And I needed that immensely this year because I felt really stagnant, because shooting beautiful women is amazing. And people always tell me, like, you have the best job in the world. But even having the best job in the world gets a little like you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. When you're in a studio all winter long, it gets monotonous.
Yeah.
By the time summer comes around or spring comes around, you just want to bust out of your walls and get outside, you know? So it really, I try and pull people from all facets. And a lot of times I have to really go out and put my feet on the ground and shake people's hands to be like, hey, come out of your box and come say hi to me because I'm really cool to work with.
Yeah.
I know in the, I haven't worked with a lot of people in the kink community. I haven't worked with a lot of people in the transgender community. I would like to work with more of them. I have, but I just have not worked with as many. I would like more drag queens because I love their color and their shapes and everything about them.
There's one club up the street from here.
Yeah, there is. And it's really just about going out and saying hi to people and letting them know that you're there. And I haven't had a chance to do that enough.
Yeah.
So really that's what I've been concentrating on this year is putting my face out there. Because that's another thing is I just hid behind my computer screen and my camera for a long time. I never really put my face out there a lot.
Yeah, it's easy to do. Mm-hmm. For sure.
So now people are finally starting to associate the name with the face.
Okay.
And that's been better for me because now people, when they see me, are like, oh, you're AmbeRed. And I'm like, yeah. Instead of talking to me about AmbeRed and then me having to be like, I'm actually AmbeRed.
Yeah.
I've had a few conversations like that were kind of weird, but they were good. They were good in the end.
Yeah, it's been good for the podcast because guests are starting to get to know each other and they know me before they even come on.
Yeah.
I feel you. It's good to get to know Portland.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like more of a part of the community, for sure. Have you done any shoots at Mount Hood?
I have not got to do that yet. That's one of the things I'm working on. I have a buddy who works up there, and he does, he takes people on trail hikes.
Yeah.
He does all sorts of cool stuff up there. But I've been meaning to get up there and do shoots. I just have not been up there. Usually when I go up there, I'm hiking.
Yeah. Is there anything that ever happened at a shoot that was really funny?
Really funny? Oh gosh, lots of times. There's lots of snafus happen that you just don't expect. You just have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, being that I've done it for so many years, I'm usually ready for it. There's very few things that happen that I'm not ready for.
Yeah.
But occasionally somebody will lose something, something will break, a bra strap will pop, like your garter breaks or something happens just in the middle of a shoot, and it's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's anything that's like super funny though. I mean, I have a light in my studio that has an arm on it.
Yeah.
So it extends like this. And a lot of times, myself included, people forget that the light is there. So when they're walking in and out, they'll smack into that light. And this beautiful performer, she's very well known in Portland and the Pacific Northwest. And she walks right into the light and almost takes her head off with the light head. Yeah. and I felt so bad. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. At least you're okay. And she was so worried about the light. It was just amazing. And she was so good about it.
Nice. Have you ever had to ask anyone to leave during a shoot, or has anyone left during a shoot?
Yes. And that mostly pertains to when I first started doing photography and I learned my lessons.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when you work in this industry, specifically when you work with beautiful women, will ask you to apprentice. They want to apprentice with you.
Yeah.
Because they want to learn, and they also want to get to know who you know.
Right.
So I had worked with a couple people early on who just really were unprofessional on set. I had one guy try and slip his phone number to a model on set, and I told him he had to leave. Mm-hmm. I said, you want to do that kind of stuff, you do it in your own time. You don't do it on my set. Yeah. Especially when you're my apprentice, especially when I've invited you here. You know, this is not your time to make connections and things like that. This is, you wait till after we're done, after the photo shoot's done, then it's all you.
Reminds me of a time on Gig Masters where I get my leads for music. Mm-hmm. This guy sent out a gig request because he was at a gig and saw a performer. So he just sent out a gig request asking for her number and to hang out. Ooh. So I immediately contacted Gig Masters, and I was like, this
Uncool.
Is a joke. I was like, this is a professional service. Yeah. And they took care of it.
Yeah, yeah. See, it's just a matter of live and learn in this industry specifically, and I've had to live and learn. There's been a few people where I've had to be like, I won't work with you again. And usually it pertained to their conduct with other women or people in the industry. You know, there was a list that came out a couple of years ago of photographers that were on I call it the naughty list.
Yeah. Because
they had just not been proving themselves to be very gentlemanlike,
yep.
Bad conduct. And this year alone, I've had a lot of women come to me and say, I won't shoot with male photographers. I'm only going to shoot with you. You know, or I'm shooting with other female photographers just because they feel safe and they don't have to worry about it. And that to me is kind of sad because I've gone to bat for photographers, other colleagues of mine, and come up short and been like, ouch, you know, that really hurts, you know, to defend your friend and then find out later on that something bad happened. But then I've had the reverse happen. I've defended somebody or, you know, been like, what did you do? And then had it come back on me and be like, oh, it wasn't your fault. You know, fuck, I'm sorry. You know?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you always have to really keep your eyes open and be aware that there are going to be people that stab you in the back. That's the way life is. There's going to be crappy people out there. But for every crappy person that's out there, there's 5 other awesome people, you know, and that's the way I look at it. There's going to be crappy people in this world and they are going to herald themselves into whatever position they are. But it's up to you to get past that, get past them, and find other people, better people, you know?
Yeah. Do you find that in your career, as you've progressed, it's easier to make models feel more comfortable during a shoot?
For sure. And that's all about communication. And I think that's something that a lot of photographers here in Portland lack And anybody that's been doing it for a long time should by now be directing their models all the way through their photo shoot. And when I say directing, I mean like
it's telling them what to do,
helping them out all the way. Even if they are an amazing model and they've been doing this for years, they can't have a mirror in front of their face. They don't know what they look like. They want that direction. They want to be, hey, you need to move your chin up a little bit. Put your arm over here just a little bit. You want to make the angles look good. You want to make them look good. You want to make them feel good. When you step into somebody's space, that's their space. You're not usually comfortable. Not everybody, anyways, is very comfortable when they step into somebody else's space. So it's up to you as the photographer to make them comfortable in that space, And
it's almost like you should be a good conversationalist as well.
Yeah. And not everybody's built that way, and I see that. I've met people that are really shy and have a really hard time communicating with people. But if this is your job and this is what you want to do, you definitely got to try and open up a little bit more.
Build a team then and get someone to communicate it for you.
That's another thing. Get a mouthpiece, somebody who can. If it's not your strong suit, find out what your strong suit is and amp it up another way.
Yeah, from the 5 or 6 shoots I've done, I definitely agree that the photographers that are telling me specifically what to do have been the greatest ones.
Yeah.
It's like I'm confused if they're just like giving me no direction, or I even appreciate the ones that are like telling wardrobe or whatever. It's like I want more direction. I don't want to choose it myself. I'm new.
Yeah, exactly. And usually when people have been called around the block a few times, like they've done it, they already know those things when they're sitting down in that chair, and they'll tell whoever's working with them, like, this is what I want, this is what I expect. People that are new to the scene that have never done it before, and I work with a lot of women specifically who want something nice for their boyfriend or something for their husband. They don't want anybody else to see it, but they still want to get naked in front of a camera, and that is, I'm a stranger. So how do you make somebody feel completely comfortable in their own skin and still relay this really, amazing image for them? And that is definitely just about talking to them, making them feel good. And I reiterate throughout a photo shoot, and I don't do it in a creepy way, but I definitely let girls know that looks really pretty. That looks really beautiful. You look amazing right now, so that you build the confidence as they go along too. And if there's something that they need to change in the photo shoot, don't be harsh to them. Don't be angsty. If it's not coming across the way that you want it, change it. Do something different. Move around. And I am kind of mentoring some photographers right now in this group that I'm in, and it's not so much I'm not going in and saying you should do it this way. It's just like, I'll tell you something a little about your ISO or your f-stop, or maybe I'll tell you about your depth of field, or maybe I'll tell you a little bit about this. But it's just me offering suggestions. I'm not ever going to be like, do it this way. It's always about, it's your eye, it's your taste, it's up to you.
You're the artist.
It's how you see it. That's why a camera in anybody's hand is different. Everybody's going to have a different perspective.
Now how has photography infiltrated your normal life? So, for example, with music, I have audio recording technology skills, so I'll analyze the bass and the drums and the production of it. So when you see a photograph, do you analyze it now?
All the time. I feel like to a detriment. Like even when I go and I look at technical equipment, like computers and things like that, there's always this clarity you're looking for, this crispness you're looking for, this depth of things that you're looking for. And that's, to me, an eye-catching photo is something that really, it has all that in one, you know? Or if it's not, I was just talking to a buddy about this the other day, and I was telling him it's not necessarily about the clarity of the image or the quality of that image, but sometimes it is just the moments. The moments that you capture can be worth so much more to people than the overall composition of the photo. Because what everybody looks for now is this really sharp, clear, beautiful, colorful, or, you know, like I was talking about depths of field and things like that. But sometimes it's just about the moment, capturing that one time that, you know,
it's true.
Something happened that you're not going to get back anywhere else.
You don't know when that moment's coming. I mean, I've had shoots where there was thousands of photos and you're like, oh, those 300 or those 10 are good. You just got to take as many as possible. That's what it's like, a quantity game sometimes. But you should also get your settings down, obviously.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my phone's going off.
And I noticed that you recently did some shooting at the Northwest Vaudeville Fest.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So that was a practice run.
Okay.
So I don't shoot fire, and I rarely shoot low light photography.
Yeah.
And so lately, that's kind of what I've been trying to master a little bit. And when I say master, I'm practicing it right now. There's another photographer. She goes by Curvy Girl on Instagram. Curvy Girl something, but she is a phenomenal artist as far as her low light photography and her flames and things like that. She does. She was there during that event, and so is Kenneth Watson. But these are people that do this for, I mean, that's what she does. She goes to live events and takes photos, and she's amazing. So is Kenneth.
Nice.
But I'm like stepping into their territory to kind of like, I'm like, I don't want to step on toes, but I want to take some pictures.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I just kind of come into a scene and try and make something of it, and then I back out. I'm not a live event photographer. I don't really want to get back into that. I did that for a while, but I'm also working on a book, and I need the content. So I was lacking flames in my book, and I needed some.
Yeah.
So I did Northwest Vaudeville Fest Fire Entertainer of the Year. It was the only day that I went. It was 3-day event.
Yeah. Have you been to Dante's? Have you ever worked there before?
Oh yes, I've not worked there, but I've
doing like the Sinferno events.
I have not shot a Sinferno event there. I've been to lots of those events. I know a majority of the people that work in those spaces.
Nice.
It's just, like I said, this year I'm finally starting to get back into going to people's shows and things, and I've really spent more time kind of traveling outside of venues that I normally go to, you know, and Dante's is kind of in that loop. Star Theater, Dante's, Kit Kat, the Rialto Pool Room, the X Lounge. Travel around too.
Ever work with Mary's Club at all?
No, I know a lot of the dancers that work there though, and I love everybody that comes in and out of there. I just don't. I used to shoot inside of clubs when I worked for Exotic, because Exotic was doing all these competitions and stuff. And I actually just got asked to shoot the girl who won Polarotica this weekend, but I didn't have a babysitter, so I couldn't shoot her. But those are fun because it's a different style of shooting too. You got motion, you know, you got people moving and things going on. And I like to challenge myself. I like the challenge. So that's why I do things like go back to low light photography after not doing it for 10 years. Yeah. You know, try it out, see how it goes, try and re-hone it. But a lot of that is not just about skill set, it's about your tools. And a lot of times you got to have the right tools for the right thing, you know? So definitely got to work on getting a few tools for the low light stuff.
Right. It's got to be harder to shoot in like Kit Kat Club where it's like darker. Do you use soft boxes or something in that? So
those are all the things that I've shot in Kit Kat Club. There was no flash, no nothing. That was just my camera. And I am horrible with tripods. Everybody says mount it to a tripod. I can't hold still long enough. Not only can I not hold still long enough, but having something strapped to something is just, unless I'm shooting the stars, I can't do it. You know, I just can't.
Right. Well, thanks for this lighter that you gave me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's from the 2019 Wicked Ink calendar. They sold out before January ended, so I don't have any more copies of the calendar. But that Una was actually in that calendar. She's her birthday month's coming up. Yeah, as a matter of fact, next month.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you also work with Lynette Brooks, who was also a guest on the show. What did you work on with her?
So Lynette was actually referred to me by Than, and Than is another amazing photographer here in town. Yeah. And he told her to come work with me, and she called me up, or she didn't call me up, but she messaged me and was like, hey, you want to work together? And it just so happened that I was doing a group shoot with the Renaissance Plunks at the Edgefield at the time. So I asked her if she wanted to come to Edgefield and shoot with me, and she brought these amazing outfits. Nice. And she's such an amazing model. She works so well with me. And she stuck around and worked with the other photographers were there. She opted to let them take pictures of her, which was very kind of her. Yeah. Super sweet girl.
Yeah.
Would work with her again. As a matter of fact, we had intention to work. She was supposed to be in my shoot on Wednesday, but she's traveling. And she's making money doing that. So I said, go make your money.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as college, did you have college training?
I did, but I didn't do it mostly. I mean, I went to community college for about a year, and I screwed that up. The thing is I always got really good grades.
Yep.
But I just bailed at the last minute. I always felt like by the time I got to that point, I didn't know where I was going. You know, I was like, why am I continuing to pay for this if I don't know where I'm going and I don't know what I'm doing?
Right.
And with my photography, I started going to the Art Institute under the assumption that I was going to get a degree, and that was going to put me at the top of the list for photographers that were hireable. But the more I started talking to people in the photography community, the more I realized that was not the case. That it was more about getting out there and doing the work yourselves and putting your hand out there and extending your work to people. A lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of no's all the way across the board. I don't know how many times people have told me no. I don't know how many things that I've submitted that have been shot down.
Right.
But over the years, I can say it's been hundreds of times. And yeah, it sucks. But pick yourself back up. Get back up. Every time you tell yourself, I'm going to quit, don't do it. You just got to keep going.
Something that'll bring you back to it, and then you've wasted the time that you've realized that you should have been doing it.
Yep. And I've questioned myself so many times throughout my career, and like, should I be doing this? Is this something that I should actually be doing? And it's finally to the point now where I'm like, okay, I got this.
Nice.
So it's taken a long time though, and it does. It's a lot of hard work.
As an artist, you don't know. No one's saying like, you got 100 on this.
Yeah.
You are getting paid thousands of dollars because we like it. Not as an artist.
Yep.
You don't really know.
Yep.
And if you do get to that point as an artist, then you've sold out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Can't win.
Exactly. If you make it commercially, you've lost your artistic integrity.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you've never made it, and you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. I actually, sadly, I heard a photographer recently deleted his social media in general just because he didn't feel like he had enough followers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, to me that's crazy. You know, that's
a lot of the times people won't follow you, they won't like you, they'll scroll by it, and you didn't know that they liked it.
Well, and I am a very firm believer in quality over quantity.
Yeah.
You know, the quality of people that you have in your feed or in your social media status is way far more impressive to me
I agree.
than the quantity of them. You can have 12K in followers, and half of those followers can be bots or assholes.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you can have 6,000 followers that are genuinely more intelligent people that you can have conversations with, people that you know, people that you've come across in your life, you know, things like that. I think that those connections are more important than the outward look of things to people. You know, be true to yourself, and I think it shows.
Yeah. Also, in our conversation, you mentioned you had an affinities for ones and threes.
Hugely.
So why is it? How did that happen?
Since my birth. So I was born March 31st, 1981. And as I've gone throughout life, I've talked to many people, and a lot of times numbers just pop up to people. Like, so I've heard 11 for some people, 7, 6, 9. But for me, it's always been ones and threes. And subsequently, there's a lot more tie-in to like my kids and me and things that have happened in my life. The fact that number 3 just pops up out of the blue everywhere. I mean, I'll be out in the middle of the wilderness and there's like a sign with a 3 on it. I'll be like, why? Addresses, things like that. Places where I go, lots of 3s, you know. It's just, it happens too much for it to be coincidence anymore. And I think that that's my main deal, is the fact that they are repeating numbers that happen repeatedly in my life. And number sequences have always been fascinating to me. Mathematical aspect of things.
The Fibonacci sequence.
Yes.
You alter one thing and we will know.
I'm into like the harmonics and frequencies and things like that too. And numbers and math all have to do with that kind of stuff too. So
yeah. Frequencies are very interesting. We're in 440 hertz to tune a guitar, and maybe if we weren't on the planet Earth, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't be the case at all. I don't know what frequency we would tune to, but it's fascinating. And actually, I read one time that the way that the planets are aligned, the spaces in the planets basically make up the major scale of a music scale. So we wouldn't be using the major scale if we were on this planet.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. We got to think too, as we change and our world changes and we have all these things that are currently changing because of our climate and our oceans and things like that, the harmonics of the earth is going to change. The earth is very harmonious. Like if you listen to it, NASA's got recordings of what the earth sounds like, but you can just understand that if we change the balance of the planet, how that's going to change and how the frequency is going to change.
Sucked most of the oil out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? How much oil have we taken out of the core, and how has that affected everything?
Well, you got to think about that. You're taking the lubrication out of the joints.
Yeah, you are. The whole thing's going to crumble and just like fly into space one day.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have some issues. Well,
We're not greased anymore. We're rusty.
I'm getting some phone calls, and I think
Yeah.
that is my ride. I'm sorry.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, hopefully we'll update it with some new stuff.